So how do you start it?
I'll just start, I think.
I mean, how do you start it?
Oh, it's recording.
Okay.
Yeah. G'day, audio team. I'm here with my good friend David Riddell, and we're just going to have a quick chat about upcoming changes and kind of current changes even in the front of house speaker system. So the overall goal of what we're going to discuss and like the project that we're going to discuss is to really open up the soundscape of the installed KV2 rig, along with like the lake processor and all the amps and all of that, and really maximize what we're getting out of our system. So there's been some problems where it feels like audio is like squashed in together, and we're not getting nice transients. We're not getting enough air in the system, and all these kinds of things. So I guess we're trying to improve that without having to spend whole lots of money on whole brand new PA. So Dave has hooked us up with a KV2 systems tech called Andrew Wood, who's been really helpful just in a couple of kind of consulting sessions, and he's got some ideas and some actions that we're starting to implement. And I'll talk more about kind of how he's going to be involved in the future. But just so that you know, there will be another face kind of around the place giving us some advice and some action points. Yeah. So Dave, what are some of the specific problems that we're trying to deal with?
Okay, so what we didn't realise, because we're running the whole system at 48K, the new digital cards that we put in the amplifiers are running at 20 meg, so you got a huge difference in sampling frequency of two different parts of the system. So typically what happened is that the mid-high boxes are running at 20 meg through the KV2 processing and amplifiers, and the sub-amplifier was bypassing that and coming straight from the lake at 48K. So the result of that was that the mid-high boxes were processing the signals much faster, and the subs were lagging behind. And so we were always trying to correct with EQ and not realising that typically it was a time problem. Doing is we're aligning the whole system at 20 meg. So we've started just by the double 15 in the middle sub that's actually running at 20 meg at the moment. So we've taken it off the lake and put it off the KV2 processing. And so that's running at 20 meg. And typically that when we did that, the timer line just greatly improved, and definition and quite a few other things. So we've still got to sort out the double 18s. So we've got a few ways of doing that, and it may not be sorted by this weekend. And so already it's a huge improvement. And so we ran the other night with no EQ whatsoever and no crossover on anything. So, yeah. And it was a drastic improvement from what we had. So for this weekend, I'm just going to go in and try a few things. I'm going to try running the double 18s through the KV2 processing, and if that works okay, we'll run it for the weekend. If not, we'll put it back how it was, yeah, or do something drastic. But yeah, so the only other thing I'm going to try to do today is just EQ the mics, especially the MC mics, so that they behave themselves, because it's quite embarrassing getting up there and having all this feedback problem, as you're probably aware.
Yeah, and so the 20 meg processing that you're talking about, that's actually cards inserted into the amps, isn't it? When was that completed?
What was it? Was it 4 years ago now when we did the reconfiguration to 17, I think it was?
Yeah, okay. So since 2017, and I guess the hope was that would fix a lot of problems, but we're realising kind of actually what the true problem is now, and hopefully making some long-term impact with them.
Yeah.
So what are some of the additions that we're kind of trying and in terms of hardware, and where would that sit in the system?
Yeah, so it's just a digital processor that 20 meg digital processor that would insert out of the lake, so that the two sub outs of the lake would go into two inputs of the digital processor, and then come out of that straight into the power amp section of the KV2 amps, and then to the subwoofers.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd then have level control and a few other controls.
Yeah, so that's probably the main thing in terms of hardware changes that will be coming up. We're not looking at redoing boxes, we're not looking at replacing boxes, we're not even looking at replacing digital processing. It's just this addition of the sub processing really is the main thing at the moment.
Yeah.
So in terms of next steps, Andrew Wood is going to be with us for a number of Sundays. He's willing to come out and listen to our entire PM. That's from sound check to rehearsal to the service.
Yep.
He was actually here last Sunday and had some really good thoughts on kind of where we're at and different ways that we can improve, both from a system perspective, but also from an operator perspective.
Yeah.
So that's really great. Expect to see him around. If you're on in the next 2 weeks, I know that we've definitely locked him in for the PM services. So that's Dan and Andrew. You guys will definitely have Andrew Wood with you in the booth, and then from that we'll be continuing to do tweaks and system changes midweek and doing a lot of testing. Then also I do have planned probably for some of the free kick nights coming up, some really specific training around utilization of the CL5 and getting that into its sweet spot, and then how that impacts when it comes out the other end as an analog signal, trying to really maximize bitrate for that digital audio signal.
Yeah, so one thing that we have to probably correct right through the system is the gain stages all through the system and gain matching. So it's not quite right at the moment, but so that's something we'll get Andrew to specifically do right through the whole console and through the rest of the system to the amps and the speakers.
Yeah. And obviously that directly impacts operators at that point. So so that's kind of the update. Just shoot through any questions that you have. Feel free to ask Dave stuff. Feel free to ask myself. I can give you less technical but more philosophical answers. And then David Lewis is also in on this as well, so he'll be able to answer some questions as well. So see you around. We'll see you when we've got Andrew and everyone else in. Cool.
Sounds exciting.
Bye.
See ya.